All right. Devin, thank you for joining me for this NFT NYC pre-event interview. We got to do this last year, and it was a great event. It was nice to get to know you and Alex a bit and what you guys are working on at OpenSea. And we're so grateful for your partnership in what we are creating with this community. For those that don't know you and don't know much about OpenSea, would you mind introducing yourself and your company?
Sure. My name's Devin Finzer. I am one of the co-founders of OpenSea, which is a marketplace for NFTs or digital assets. So when we started back in late 2017, it was just CryptoKitties. That was kind of the first one. And since then, the number and diversity of NFT projects has really exploded, and OpenSea serves as a marketplace for a lot of those projects.
Yeah, so OpenSea is kind of like the eBay of crypto collectibles, digital assets, NFTs, which stand for non-fungible tokens, NFTs as people call them. And it was wild to see CryptoKitties explode in value, right? There was one or more that had a six-figure price tag. But it's been cool to see, for me, to see the maturity of the platform, like watching Josie Bellini start to create this incredible art. And she's not just selling it at the retail value that she put out, but she's selling it. Bids are going up. People are reselling it. Like you see the same thing with different video game assets that are kind of the new playing field for esports that's tied into the chain. So it's been really a fun experience to watch. What's it like for you and your team to kind of be still tweaking on the tech, making the platform better, knowing that you have people on there that are buying and selling, so you have to be responsible for that, but then you also want to make it better and better. What's been that experience like for you guys?
Yeah, I think it is tough to sort of balance moving fast and adding lots of sort of underlying infrastructural changes while trying to maintain the current user base. That's a challenge for, I guess, for every startup, but even more so in the blockchain space, where most folks right now are early adopters. So if you tailor too much to the early adopter community, you kind of will miss out on the more mainstream, wider community. So it's always a balance between those two. But right now, I think we're pretty happy kind of tailoring to these tech enthusiasts who are like excited about diving into the technology, because I think a lot of the pieces of infrastructure to make it more accessible to mainstream users is still like coming together. And so focusing on the early adopter, I think, makes a lot of sense right now.
Yeah. When we gathered last year, it was also February 20th, or I guess it was earlier this year, right? In Times Square. We were over the PlayStation Theater. It was really cool to see the community come together, right? It reminds people that have been in tech for a long time, like this was like the e-commerce events 15, 20, 25 years ago. It's like social media gatherings 10, 15 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Like smart people, capable people that are saying, we're going to build this industry. What was the experience like at NFT.NYC for you and your team last year? And what are you expecting this year as we gather on Thursday, February 20th, again in Manhattan?
Yeah, the experience was amazing last year. It was really nice to have a conference that's dedicated to a very specific topic where everyone kind of starts out on the same page. Like if you had to explain NFTs, even to someone who knows a little bit about tech, there's a lot of kind of layers of understanding that you have to achieve before you can have an in-depth conversation about NFTs. And the nice thing about the conference last year was everyone was sort of at that level where you could have these really interesting, more complex and nuanced discussions about non-fungible tokens. I think this year, a lot of the infrastructure has improved. So I think more and more people have started using these applications. There's like these sort of fundamental primitives that people are used to. So being able to show an NFT in a wallet, being able to trade an NFT, all of that type of stuff. That being said, it doesn't look that much different from last year. Like to be perfectly honest, like I think it's still clear that we're still in the early days, and this is going to take a while before like dramatic changes start happening in everyone's sort of using these digital assets natively across the entire internet. So that's what I would kind of say.
Yeah, it's been interesting as I've had some conversations leading up to the event for this year, talking to people that are in the crypto art, talking to people that are in the esports and the video games, talking to people that are in the real world applications, you leveraging NFTs for different ways of automating transaction. There's a lot going on. And it does seem like it's getting more mature, that people are figuring things out, that the interoperability is becoming more seamless, that you can take an asset from one chain to another, from one game to another, from one environment to another. So in terms of how things mature, what areas in this industry do you think are maturing more rapidly? And you're like, wow, this is a real strength. And what areas or area do you think maybe are not maturing as rapidly as you might want? You're like, gosh, this is kind of a weakness. What are one or more strengths and weaknesses that you're seeing right now, kind of in the state of the NFT space?
Yeah. So two areas I think that are progressing strongly are just the core utility of the different items. So for example, the gameplay associated with a lot of the collectible games is a lot more mature than it was a year ago, right? There's actual trading card games that you can go and download the beta for, or the production release, and actually like play with NFTs. And so there's just a lot more to do once you own them. I would also say the wallet space has grown quite a lot. So MetaMask is now it's improved a lot, and there's a lot of other players on the block. So hosted wallet solutions, sort of hybrid models where some data is stored locally and some data is stored in a server. Those have sort of progressed, although I would say that none of them have started to kind of dominate MetaMask's position in the market, interestingly enough. And then I guess another strength and maybe a little bit of a weakness is in terms of underlying chain technology. We're still primarily building all on Ethereum, which is great, and Ethereum is making a lot of progress, but we haven't yet seen a chain other than EOS and Tron that has sort of started to gather real critical mass around it, with some of those nice features people are talking about, like higher throughput transactions and stuff like that. So I think on the underlying chain infrastructure, there's obviously a lot more work to be done, but there's, again, tons of people working on it.
Yeah. If somebody came last year to the event and they're on the fence because, hey, time's a really important asset. If you don't live in New York, it could be costly to fly and travel, hotel. So they're on the fence. They've been there last year, or maybe they didn't come last year, but they're interested in being connected to the community. They're raising money. They're a founder. They're looking for investors. Investors will be there. Or they're an investor. They want to deploy capital into exciting companies. Lots of founders will be there raising, or they just want to be educated. They want to switch into this industry. Like, lots of reasons why people might come.
Yeah.
So regardless if people came last year or not, but they're on the fence. They're like, I'm really considering it. What's kind of your, invitation to those folks, asking them, hey, you really should be there with us?
Right. Well, I think at a high level, if you look at the exciting things that have happened in the blockchain space over the last 4 years, they take a little while to mature, right? And if you want to be on the forefront of the next sort of wave of interest in the next wave of excitement in blockchain or any new technology, you have to be a little bit early, right? So if you think about tokens and the wave of ICOs in 2017, there was actually a period where like ERC20 was just sort of being formalized as a standard, and like no one had any idea that all of this was going to happen. Bitcoin similarly, right? There was a period where only a few people cared about Bitcoin, and then hundreds of people and thousands of people. And so I think, what I would say is it's very exciting and a huge opportunity if you believe in the long vision of NFTs to get in early on the ground floor. And I think a good reason to believe in the long-term vision is just if you look at the design space for unique digital assets, it's so wide, right? You have the whole gaming space, event ticketing, domain names, maybe one day physical assets. There's just so many things you can represent. And even relative to currencies, I would say it's a much wider, more diverse design space. And if you look at what happened with currencies, there was tons of excitement around that. So I think NFTs are in a similar early stage where getting involved on the ground floor at this time is like it's a really good time to learn about them and connect with people who know about them.
That's right. Well, it'll be fun to spend more time with you and Alex in February at the event. Yeah. Are either of you guys going to be at CES in January?
I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously a lot of blockchain people there, but it's not the focus, and it's not really an NFT, thing happening. But good. Well, I'll see you in Manhattan, and I've been working on an integration with NFTs, and I'm excited to tell you guys about that as we've gotten more and more development on that with our company Attention Live. So that'll be a fun thing to talk about because our ambition is pretty aggressive.
Nice.
Any final thoughts for you on just kind of the state of the industry as we wrap up our interview?
Final thoughts. Not really. Just hope to see everyone at NFT.NYC because I think it'll be a lot of fun.
It will. It will be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it as well. And I appreciate you joining me for this NFT.NYC pre-event interview. And
Thanks
for
for
those, absolutely. For those watching this live stream on YouTube or seeing the archive, we welcome you. Come and join us, me and Devin and all of our friends. And we'll be meeting Thursday, February 20th in New York City. And it's the place to be if you have any interest or involvement in the non-fungible token space. Again, Devin, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.